The gun and ammo shortage of 2020. This one is a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, and I'll go over the points on how that is. But if we look back, it all started, I believe, in the 90s under President Clinton when he had the assault rifle ban or extended magazines. He banned certain guns from being sold and pistols that can hold more than, I think, 8 rounds. At the time this was done, there were a few guns out there. There was kind of new. The high capacity magazine thing was starting to gain popularity at that time. And much like when they put prohibition in back in the 20s, or no, I think it was 1918 or 1919, it went till 1933, banning the sale, manufacture, and consumption of alcohol. With some people this is a popular thing, but it was bad, and they changed it back. They got rid of prohibition, and in all these years they've never brought it back. They use other methods to penalize people who consume too much alcohol. Okay, so same with the gun thing. You're never going to see a gun ban like that come back because it's pointless. And plus, since they've deleted it, the amount of guns they wish to ban that have been produced and are legally owned, it would be ridiculous to try to pass a law that cannot be enforced. Okay, so you're not going to see it, but that's kind of what edges people into buying. And what happened over the past, I'd say 15 years, when President Obama was in and the Democrats were making a strong political platform to have more gun control laws, eliminate gun shows and all this other stuff, this is what caused these spikes. Every time there was an incident, mass shooting or something, and everybody get on the TV, everybody panicked, bought the stuff, bought ammunition, and did this crazy stuff. And all these spikes, it was like a wave. You'd see it, boom, 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 boom. Something that was priced for, say, $700, what AR-15 went up to $1,600 overnight with no law being passed. People just would pay it. It's like a reaction, okay? And for people like me that have collected and are involved in shooting sports or hunt, this is insanity, but it goes on. So you have people who do this, be it a hunter or someone who competes, like I used to shoot trap, shoot thousands of rounds of 12-gauge shotgun shells each year. People who just collect guns, okay, or people who own a pistol and go out, once or twice a month and shoot up 100 rounds just as a recreational sport or to practice, to become proficient, okay, is what you should do. If you own a handgun and you intend to carry it, you should practice and fire it and become proficient in its safe handling and being able to hit what you're shooting at, okay? So you have this normal usage, you have these people which are hoarders, opportunists. These are the people that watch this. They're the ones that are selling. They're not necessarily involved in the sport or actually shoot. They're just, us gun collectors call them opportunists. They see something at one price, then the price goes up, so they get it, buy low, sell high. It's the American way. All right. Unfortunately, I believe, if I got something and I was selling it for, say, $500, no matter what it is, and then all of a sudden, hey, there's a panic, this and that, and then to just go and say, hey, you know what, these things are running low, now it's $700, okay? I'm already making money at $5, why, but that's the way people, and that's what happens, and people pay, okay? So, this is what drives these panic buys. And over the years, I used to cover it because it was insane. I remember going to a gun show where I could not find a parking spot in a giant parking lot. it was like in a madhouse, and there was a line outside waiting to get in. They actually had to shut a venue down. The fire marshal came because there were more people than in this giant auditorium capacity, which is up in Raleigh at State Fairgrounds, which I think the capacity is like 3,000 or 4,000 people. It was over capacity, and they had to actually restrict the show. Okay. And I've heard in the past of people going to a gun show, bringing down their whole store inventory and selling $30,000 worth of stuff in one weekend. The guy said, I brought back empty racks and a cash box. That was it. Okay, it's crazy. So I've seen this go, and we're all used to it. And if you wise up, you know how to kind of read it and don't get caught up in it, much. And ammunition shortages, that was another thing. I used to cover that. People would just buy up all the ammo. And what people were doing is they were going to the store, when they'd stock it on Thursday, like Gander Mountain, he'd just buy all the 9mm. Go get the money out of the bank, buy it all, or hit it on his credit card. Then when normal people who work for a living come in there in the evening, the ammunition's gone, they can't find it, they want to buy it, and this guy's sitting at a flea market or telling people, well, I got a special in, I can get you a box for double or triple the price. There were a lot of people doing this. Okay. And what created the shortages back in 2009 and the panic, okay, there are other factors. And what kind of created them was the big recession, a lot of unemployment, okay, a lot of crime, okay. So when your economy tanks, crime goes up, okay. People, first of all, ain't working or can't live one way or the other, they're going to start stealing. So violent crime went up. So this also caused a drive. We need guns, we need ammo, concealed carry permits, that was a big business. When I went to the class, there was like 30, 40 people there. And this guy was doing it every weekend. Okay, a lot of people went, got their concealed carry, bought handguns, and this has been going on the past almost 20 years, okay? Under the Obama administration, every year was a record sale of firearms, and they do that by checking the background checks. How they measure it is the background checks. And that's when you go in to buy anything, they have to call in, be it a rifle. In my state, if you're buying a pistol, you got to have a pistol purchasing permit, and that is, you get that, it's a background check done by the sheriff, okay? And that's all it is. But if you got a concealed carry and it's valid, that's automatic background check. They're not calling in. So those numbers are off because there's a lot of people like me that when I want to buy a gun, I just go put the cards down, I get the gun. The background check's automatic. So you look at how many concealed carry permit holders there are, and if they're all buying guns, that number's actually incorrect. So all these years, all these ups and downs, I've covered it, the craziness. And then when Trump gets in, there's a big drop-off. Republicans are in, Republican president. The fear goes away, okay? And there's a huge drop in the sales of ammunition and guns. And it really did, it flatlined. Okay, there's plenty of ammo in the stores. It was dirt cheap, 8 months ago, dirt cheap. There's all kinds of guns in stock, and actually the prices of the guns started to drop. Okay, the retail price. Okay, the retailers were selling so many and doing so well that they actually dropped their retail price by like some 30, some almost 40%, it's crazy. So you'd go, I went, bought a handgun for $240 I paid with tax and everything. It was, the suggested retail price was $245. So I got it, the retailer knocks the price down, so after you pay sales tax and everything else, it's still a few dollars less than the MSRP, okay? And it was a new gun, it's Taurus Spectrum. It was out just only a year or so, and usually, when it's new, everyone wants one and will pay the full price to get it. So I bought the gun and shot it, made some videos, liked it. Well, within a year and a half later, the online wholesalers are selling the same pistol, brand new in the box, with warranty and everything, for $168. So this is where a lot of people were complaining, yeah, there's plenty of guns, there's no shortages, but when things eased up and I bought these guns, paid a fair price for them. The manufacturers were not selling guns or whatever reason, they dropped their retail price down to where now this gun I paid for, a used pistol, it is worth than less than half of what I paid. Okay? In other words, if I wanted to go sell it, the value of it is way down. Okay? Because generally paying $245, you could probably sell a used gun for $175 or whatever, like they're selling. Now I'd be lucky to get $125 for it. And this went on with brand name guns like Ruger and this and that, they come down. So people were complaining about that before all of this happened. Now, there were massacres and people got nervous, but you never seen a giant crazy spike like you did when the Democrats were in charge. So there's a political element to all this. Okay, and like I said, you're not going to see the gun ban. So now we get into 2020 and last year, 2019. I mean, plenty of stuff. Couldn't give the stuff away. I think 9mm ammo you can buy for $8.50 a box, and that's good factory ammo. Okay, AR-15s were selling for $3.95 at the gun show, and a guy had 20 of them on a table stacked up. Okay, this is 8 months ago. Or take it back, about say 10 months ago, in the end of last year. That's the way it was. Okay. So sales were flat. Guys running shops weren't making the big bucks, So now we come in 2020. There was no massacre, no nothing. You had coronavirus. Okay, this thing hit us, total global lockdown, not just the U.S. or one state, the whole world. So you had this pandemic or whatever, I call it the global war on humanity, hits us. And as usual, all kinds of strange things. One thing had nothing to do with guns, toilet paper and stuff. So I see this mechanism again. I did a video where I went to the local gun shops, and in the beginning there was a run, and there was a lot of confusion with this lockdown and when the governor would have an order, and then shutting the stores down, this and that. And a lot of people said, I see it coming, went down, bought ammo. And I mean, it sold out quick. They had the whole aisle, I had that video, the whole aisle had skids of the stuff, all in bulk. Okay, it was gone in a matter of 2 weeks. Okay, so it didn't really quite start off as a huge panic. Now, where this panic buying and stuff is going to be different than my other reports is, number one, the gun shows are not reopening. It's August. Okay, the Greensboro gun show isn't opening up. I didn't get my invoice. It's canceled. Most of the gun shows in the major cities, the large ones in this state of North Carolina, have been canceled. Okay. Some of the far-flung, little, tiny, rural ones out where I'd have to drive 2 hours to go, they do have little bitty gun shows. Nothing spectacular, but you can go to a gun show if you go look for one. And it depends on the county, the city or town that it's in, and everything else. But the major cities, Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, and that, it ain't happening. You're not going to see a gun show. Okay? And most of the retail stores are open, the large ones, and I believe the gun shops are, but they're out of inventory. Or any of the major chains have restrictions. So if they do get a supply in when you go there, you can only buy like 4 boxes of shells, which is Sportsman's Outdoor. But the thing is, they are still charging you the price of like $9.75 a box. The only problem is they bring a pallet of that in and it's sold out in 24 hours. Okay. So you see, it's strange. You could go where it's limited, still pay the old price. It's just you gotta like go out of your way, take a day off from work to get there when they open at 9 a.m. to get in there and get your 4 boxes. Okay. Online, if it's available, it's like $35 a box, and you got to buy a 500 round case. Okay, and there are some gun shops. The guy said he stopped at one. It's on Highway 40 down by Burlington, and what they were selling 500 rounds of ammo at one time was like $275. Now it's $800 for the same case. Alright, so there. So we're seeing all this strange stuff, and it started with the coronavirus. Okay, so you figure we got another bump. Well, this is where this is different, and this is going to be different than what I've seen in the past. So you got the coronavirus started it. There was a run, just like a mass shooting, and you get the same thing again, and everyone's sitting there, yeah. Well, the coronavirus is one thing going on, and it's global, and it's political, and it's social, and it impacts everybody's life. The effects of this, and the fact that we are not coming out of stage 2. Okay, so what this is doing is this is creating huge impacts economically, socially. Other states, because they've closed the courthouses and that, people cannot go get permission to buy guns. Even if you buy a gun in the store, like up in New York, you buy a handgun, you have to go to the courthouse, bring the receipt, get it put on your permit, okay, have it registered to you, then go back and get it. They told me up there, you can buy all the guns you want, but the courthouse is closed until further notice, so you can't go and transfer it onto your permit, the government's permission, to get your gun. So basically they have stalled the sales of handguns. And there are several other states where you kind of got to do this. I'm not familiar with every state law, but this also is something where when you purchase a gun legally and you got to go down and do your thing or pay your tax, some of them you have to pay a tax or something, and you get your ticket and go back and pick the gun up. Courthouses are closed. So this is kind of putting more fear and adding fuel to the fire. And like I said, whenever the economy tanks, crime goes up. So this is all going on after the coronavirus. Now you get hit with the social, they call it social unrest, rioting, looting, protests, and the news media is not helping out by portraying it as the whole country is collapsing and violence, and you see armed bands of groups from one side or the other, people standing there holding assault rifles trying to keep it from tearing the statue down, other groups saying, well, if you're going to do that, we're all going to march holding guns and stuff and march through town. It's frightening. Now you're scaring the hell out of people who in the past did not own guns, really didn't have opinions, the way their life was, it didn't matter to them. Okay? So with the social unrest, now we're talking about defunding the police. And there's a big political argument, controversy there. Police departments are corrupt, so we're going to defund them or eliminate them or whatever. And the way it's worded, they're not really just going to say, okay, we no longer have a police department. What they're doing when they replace them is they shut down the governing system, who was in control of it, who was running it. They replace the one system under a city and bring it up under the county, okay, with the sheriff, and get rid of everyone on the force, then rehire people to man the police force. So that's kind of misleading when they say they're defunding or eliminating the police forces. They're not doing that, but the way the news portrays it, it's like they are. They're just laying off all the cops. They are going to replace it with somebody, but they're not going to be to where there are no police. I don't think so. If they do, then we're in really big trouble. So this is driving even more people. The fear, the level of fear now, it's not so much the fear of they're going to ban the guns and you're not going to be able to buy them. There's also added on, there is that fear. But you're adding on the fact that my life is in danger. A mob of people can show up at my house and start tearing it apart and kill me and my family. This is something we have never seen in the United States of America. Okay, this is not good. Okay, this isn't, they're going to ban guns or pass a law where you can't own it or whatever, which is one level of fear. Well, now you got a level of fear. They're getting rid of the police department. We're already locked up. The economy's going. There's violence in the streets. There's armed bands of people running all over. Now your fear level, and that is way to hell up here. Okay? Now it's like my life is in danger type of fear level. This ratchets it all up. And the fact they're not coming out. So you had the lockdown, social unrest, and now, okay, everyone's saying, all right, we're coming out of the lockdown, reopen restaurants, businesses, all this other stuff. They're not doing that. He's dragging his feet. We were told here in North Carolina they're not going to go into phase 3 until like September 11th. Real nice day to pick, too. So now, you have all this stuff. You have the fear that's at an extremely high rate. And the extension of this lockdown restrictions and that and keeping businesses closed and just making everybody's daily life miserable is wearing on them, and it is crippling the economy. Okay? It is really hurting the economy of this country, of this state, bad. Whenever the economy tanks, violence and crime go up. Okay? It's just a natural thing. So now, where this situation is different than, people, and again, I haven't heard anything recently. They've kind of backed off, but months before there was everyone out on YouTube talking about all these bills they're trying to slide in with legislation to ban just about all types of firearms, 80%. There's some ridiculous laws, okay? They're trying to push it through. Fortunately, I don't believe any of that, all of that stuff. They make their statement in politics and scare the hell out of everybody, but I don't think the government is that foolish enough to pass something that stupid, and I haven't heard much else about them. But do be aware, and those people that do take the time to find out these pending bills and legislation they're trying to pass and put the word out about it, okay, it's a good thing. But I haven't heard anything recently about that. So as you see from all these different things going on, this is not your normal shortage, run, panic buying thing that lasts 5-6 months and then goes down. With all this going on, okay, I guess the simple way to put it is in numbers. One guy was saying that the annual production of all ammunition commercially, maybe the military is included, but they give you a number of what the industry produces, every year is 8 billion rounds, and that covers everything from 22s to, the biggest caliber. That's what they produce every year, and that's what's consumed on a normal level, 8 billion rounds. This guy said he was writing an article, he talked to the industry reps, and they said right now in the current situation, like right now here in August, the demand is 10 times higher. So what does that mean? They had the production level to produce 8 billion rounds, which is normal, It's normal production years thing. But the demand is for 80 billion rounds, 10 times more. Okay, so it doesn't matter. That's 10 times more, okay? So to recover from this or to get caught up to where you meet the demand, you see it's impossible. It's totally crazy in the amount of time it would take. Some estimates looking at it that way have been a year, that things will get normal to where you could go into a sporting goods store and find a box of 9mm ammunition for, less than $50, would be a year from now. Some people have told me a year and a half. Okay. Also, what is complicating things, just like I gave you this big speech about the coronavirus, the panic buying, the people that are opportunists, hoarders, all this other stuff, which is normal in all these reports. With the coronavirus, with the restrictions, our economy is being crippled. And what this does is it affects the chain from the mines where raw materials, because now I'm hearing that there's rumors there are shortages of the materials needed, the raw materials, to make ammunition. In other words, lead, copper, brass, stuff like that. And the reason is, with this coronavirus and the restrictions, the mines are at a lower capacity. Truck drivers, there's less of them going. Your trucking and infrastructure is running at a lower capacity. So delivering, even when you're not producing enough, to get the raw material from the mine to the processing plant or refinery, then it gets transported again to the ammunition manufacturer, then it gets transported again, the finished product, to the wholesaler, then to the retailer. Okay? The trucking system is running at a lower capacity. They don't have drivers, they don't have, and that's, I've even heard UPS is running behind. They're hiring anyone to come drive part-time for them. They just don't have the people working to get the load done. So the whole country, hobbled with this coronavirus thing, is running at a lower capacity. Our transport infrastructure, our manufacturing and mining, people who produce raw materials, people who process these said raw materials from the mine into a product of actual metal or something that is then taken and used in the secondary manufacturing process to make the ammunition that gets transported. So you see the whole system, the whole economy is breaking down. And this is even worse than just a panic. Because in the past, there were a few things that threw a monkey wrench. In China back in like 2008, 2009 was consuming everything. Concrete, steel, lead, okay, all in some of the materials needed to make ammunition. But I think China consumed 3/4 of the world's supply of concrete for so many years, to the point to where they built so many buildings and skyscrapers, the scientists say they've actually shifted the polar axis of the Earth by adding that much weight in one little strategic spot. That's what they say, okay? That's insane, but it did have an effect on availability of what we were looking for and the cost. So now we're looking at a totally different, huge mess, because all the things are there, but the thing is, it's more complicated, added with the virus, the economy taking a tank, vicious political infighting, okay? And then to top it off, to give you the one thing, I guess they call it the straw that broke the camel's back. As usual, it is an election year, and it's all coming up here in the next few months, and it is going to be vicious. It's already vicious, and it's going to be nasty. And every election year, we always see a spike and people trying to hedge their bets on who's going to be in charge and what's going on. And you already hear people talking about it. If the Democrats get in, this is going to be far worse. I really don't believe the Democrats got a chance to win, because everywhere I look, everyone's pretty much impressed and behind President Trump. There are a few people who, are on the other side and just hate the guy no matter what. But I don't believe the sentiment of at least people around me and what I've seen and what I've heard, President Trump will win. Hopefully this will all calm down, but the problem is something has to be done with this coronavirus, because my state's economy is being destroyed. They're not letting this up. They're actually making it worse, pushing the masks, pushing this stuff worse, and this in itself is getting into a lunatic area. And all it's doing is tearing apart the social fabric of this country, creating unrest, and it's destroying the economy. And these factors, okay, when people are uncomfortable, when people are unhappy, when people feel unsafe in their homes, they feel that their lives, their family, and their property is threatened by unruly mobs. And because the government's defunding the police and the government is ineffective and they're not doing things to protect us, okay, this is where, like I said, the fear factor behind all it is off the charts. Okay, there is always a level of mistrust and fear of the government overstepping its boundaries and banning it and doing things, but now it's way out there, farther than anything I've seen in the past 20 years. Okay, and this is behind it. It's a sad situation. They're saying a year and a half before anything gets back to normal again in these terms of guns and ammo, but I really don't know. Okay, it's not good. And I know this is a lengthy report, but this is different than it has been in the past. And how this is all going to sort itself out, I don't know. And how long this is going to last, I don't know. But all I know is in the next few months coming up to the election, it's really going to be something that we've never seen before. And I'll report on it as I go.